Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. Even though it's a Thursday and not a Wednesday, we're still here. YBC, Youth Building Conversation. This evening, I am sitting down with no other than CEO, coach, mentor, founder of Unmasked. What's up, Lamar?
How you doing, Luana? How's everything?
I am great. I am great. I am great. Before we get started, I just want everybody to know I know him personally. He's like a big brother to me. And I seen his career. I know his wife. His wife is one of my sisters. Um, and they have moved and he have just done great things in the community. So we're gonna get started. But before we get started, I always ask the person that I'm interviewing, can you please lead us in a short prayer? Just opening us up.
By the way, I was blindsided by this, but I'm gonna try my best. So I was, I'm gracefully accepting that. But first of all, Lord, thank you for another wonderful day. Thank you for Luana Hodges and her platform and bringing us into a show to be able to express our words to the young, the youth, and others who need encouragement in today's world. I ask that you add a blessing to the words that we are about to bestow upon everyone. And thank you for all our blessings. I pray in Jesus' name, Christ's Lord's sake. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. See, there you go. There you go. There you go. So I always like to ask the person that I'm interviewing, even though I know who you are, but you might shock me. I have been shocked on my platform when I ask this question. Who is Lamar Barrett?
Wow, who is Lamar Barrett? That's a question that you don't get asked all the time. I've done a lot of interviews, um, and I actually interview individuals. That's actually a good one. I'm gonna have to steal that one. When who is Lamar Barrett to everyone? I'm a selfless, spiritual, family oriented, um, like I said, selfless, giving person. A person who loves not only the game of basketball but sports in general. I think you can use so many so many things from the game or from sport in general that carries on to life. I am a teacher. I'm an educator, motivator, mentor. So I would think all those things are who Lamar Barrett is. And it always starts with God first. Being in your life, and then family, like I said, is important, and then everything else falls into place. And just fortunate to have so many important people in my life to make the person that I am today.
Okay, okay. So I always ask this question. I know some people get tired of me asking, but I ask it anyway because that's where my platform and how my platform was birthed. COVID-19 hit. How did that affect you personally, spiritually, and professionally?
You know what? How and it was interesting because I was on the road at the time, travel for scouting, watching games. I just I actually was planning to go out to I think it was Las Vegas at the time to the Pac-12 tournament, and was told that we could no longer go out. And so from that, I was from being a person on the road, having a chance to evaluate over 80 plus games during that season. That was kind of new because I've been in basketball all my life, but I was in college athletics for 16 years, high school coach for 6 years. So I was always used to being on the road. And then all of a sudden it came to a halt, and it was like no more travel. And you didn't know how long it was going to be. But, from that, I think it helped being a person that's been away a lot, not around your family a lot. I think it helped me grow from that, learning that like, well, there's some things that you've forgotten or along the way that you took for granted. And I think I grew from that from a personal standpoint of, making sure family is first, making sure they are first. Besides, religious, you putting God first, but making sure that family is important and they understand that. So from a personal standpoint, that was the growth. Spiritually, it gives you a chance to read more. It gives you a chance to do other things besides just what you're ingrained in. So from a reading standpoint, from a family standpoint, for just now you got so much time on your hands, and you can control your time a lot better as well. So I think those things helped. I think it helped me develop, and it made me think even more. Like my creative side came out even more
Mm.
during the process as well. So those are the things I think from the COVID-19 not being able to travel helped me, and it gave me a chance to rest. And like you don't like, Luana, this is what you don't realize. Like being out 16 years on the road of coaching, like not even just like. And one of my friends one time, he had been in the business for 30 some years, and he said, out of those 30 some years, 5 of those years, he added it up. 5 of those years, he thought that's how much time he spent in a hotel. Like that's a lot of time over. So I started thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow, I spent a lot of nights in hotels. I spent a lot of nights times on trains, planes, and things like that. So yeah, it gave me an opportunity to sit back, be creative, and now really my family, how important they are to you and your success even more.
Nice, nice. I love it. I know Sandy somewhere smiling. Yeah.
She was a little, know what's funny, interesting, Luana, when I was always, if I was home for 2 or 3 days or 4 days, she'd be like, when are you going back out on the road? You know what I'm saying? So she was so used to me being there, not being there. But
Right.
when it got to a certain point, it became, when do you go back on the road again? And now we were stuck together. And then when it was time for me to go back out, now it was like, I don't know if I really want to travel as much anymore. So
Right.
that's how it was.
Yeah. So I know I already asked you who is Lamar Barrett, but what makes you special? What separates you from all the other coaches out there that's doing their thing coaching? What makes you special?
You know what? I think I have a genuine concern for the kid, the student athlete, and that not just him, but the whole family. I think, in this profession, we all get caught up in wins and losses. That's the most important thing. That's what we think is the most important thing. But my my thing is, I'm developing kids. I'm parents are trusting me with their kids at 17, 18 years old to 22, 23 years old. Like that's my job of making sure that these kids. And I always said this to parents. I was like, you did a great job of rearing your kid. I never say you raise cattle. I think you did a great job of rearing your kids for 17, 18 years. Now you're trusting him, or, you trusting him, and female coaches are trusting, women, young ladies, you're trusting them to be the next 4, 5, 6 years of their life to be an impact in their lives, because those are going to be the most important times of their life. This is when you become young man to man. Like
Yeah.
this is going to be the things that you need to know for the rest of your life, for the next 40 years. 90% of the time, I want to say 80% of the time, this is where you're going to end up finding your wife. This is where you're going to end up living a lot of times. Like it's just, somewhere in that area, you're going to go to church. Like there's so many things. So you playing an important part in these kids' lives. That's the huge thing. You get out of this, and then just seeing them go on, not only just to graduate, but then to go and get a job, start a career,
Yeah.
raise a family. Like, those are the things that means the most to me in this whole situation, of being an educator, teacher, because I don't look at just coach wears so many hats, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're all educators. We're all teachers. That's what we are at the end of the day.
Cool, cool, cool. So I was looking at your bio, which was it. Great, impressive bio. And you mentioned you graduated from Elizabeth City State University with a degree of business administration. Now we talked about this. How you come from there all the way to coaching basketball?
You know what? It's interesting that as you every kid grows up and they want to be a professional athlete, right? And that's what you want. That's what the goal is. There's nothing wrong with setting goals. And then you get to a certain point and you realize, like, you know what? I'm not as good as I thought I was, or you lose the passion for playing. but it's like, what's the next step? Okay. And so I knew, I go to college to be an accounting major. You know that all too well. And when I get to college, it's like the first 2 weeks of college is like what you learn in high school, right? So you thinking like, oh, so you got to figure out, okay, what's my next step? And so I remember switching from accounting to business administration. I was economics finance because it was still the similar track, but it was just in some different classes. And then I knew I wanted to make money once I graduated. That was my whole goal. Like, man, look, I got to make money when I get out. Not thinking like, what's my passion? I've been doing basketball all my life, but I wasn't thinking about passion. I was thinking about money.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I always wanted to live in the DC, Maryland area. My mom was here when I was born, when I was young. She lived here the first, parts of my life. But I knew I was here almost every summer. So I knew I wanted to live here. This was like, to me, it was the Mecca. I could, so in the DMV. So I ended up getting into working in the government. And actually, I was offered a job when I was graduating from college. Like my senior year, the head coach was like, the assistant coach is leaving. Would you want to stay on and be an assistant coach?
Wow.
And a mentor of mine at the time, who just recently passed away this summer, he told me that I probably shouldn't take the job. He didn't think that the head coach would be there that long, afterwards. So it wouldn't be smart for me to take the job. So everyone else around me saw me coaching except myself. I just knew I wanted to make money. I knew I wasn't going to play, but I wanted to make money. So I ended up coming up here. I get a job. I worked for almost 3 years, and I'm working with Department of Defense, and I'm working, and it's like,
oh, you got a good job.
It was good. It was good. It was good. But it was like something was missing because I was still playing. I would play in leagues. I was probably playing 4 or 5 times a week, right? So I was still missing basketball. And then the same mentor came back 3 years later and said, the new head coach is looking for someone else. Would I be interested? So I said, you know what? I would be interested. So I sat down. I actually met him in Virginia Beach, sat down, talked with him. And the best thing that happened was he didn't hire me because I hadn't played professionally or I hadn't coached in 3 years. So he wanted to go with someone who had been around it more. That was the best thing that happened to me because then I realized what I was missing, which was basketball. And with me not getting that job, I said, what's the next step? How do I get in? And I ended up saying, I didn't know anyone in this whole area that knew enough that I could get on their staff. So I thought if I get into teaching, then I could probably get into coaching. And so I ended up applying for Prince George's County School. I get 2 interviews. One was with Fairmont Heights. I did, and I don't even know if I got the job or not, but I know I got the job. I went into Ox Hill, was offered a job on the spot, and and when I was leaving out, and the principal was a former basketball player, former college basketball assistant.
Wow.
He's like, "Yo, we might have a spot here at Oxon Hill. We can, let me talk to the guy." And when I met with the guy who's the head coach at the time, I met with the AD. She was like, "Yeah, you would be great," But the head coach wasn't hearing that at the time. And he was just like, no, I don't need anyone. And then eventually we talked and it became, we knew some of the same people. I actually played with the players in open gym. I was 25 years old at the time. So I'm playing in the gym and I look young. So that's 25 years ago. And I'm playing and I'm better than all the kids in there. And I should be. I'm a grown man. And one of the players was like, hey, what grade are you in? And I was like, man, I'm a teacher. I'm in, room 210. No. What grade you in? So when he saw me play and all the kids kind of talked to me, that's when he said, I want you to be a part of my staff. And that's how it started.
Great.
I got into teaching to get into coaching, but I knew I wasn't going to be in high school coaching for long. I knew that part.
So when did you transition over to college?
Actually, 2003, we had great 6-year run. Probably everything that I could do at Oxon Hill, we had done. We had went to 4 state championships, won 2 state championships. probably 18 kids in a public school at that time actually got to go and play Division 1. Another 4 or 5 kids went on to play Division 2.
Right.
So we, done very well. I thought I had done my job. And so I had started searching, trying to get jobs. But then it was a blessing. There was a young man that was leaving. I remember being up in Georgetown. And I was in high school, but we were at an AU event, and he told me, he said, I'm leaving. I'm going to UMass. Would you have some interest in this job? Your name has come up around several people, and the head coach kind of asked about you as well. So I was like, yeah, I definitely want to get in. He knew I wanted to get in. And like the coach flew me up like the next week or two, and I got hired in May, but I officially didn't start. I couldn't tell anyone, and I didn't officially start until September. But I had the job. I remember it was May 18th. I can remember that best friend's birthday, and I remember I'm at getting something to eat, saying to her mom, they're coming back from somewhere, and I was like, "Hey, I just got offered a job going to Connecticut." So that happened 18 years ago. May 18 years ago. Yes.
Wow. So I know. So do you ever see yourself okay, we'll get to that. I'll get to that question later on. But being a coach, I know it has its challenging moments. So what has been your challenging moment?
The biggest challenge is, so in this profession, and we say it all the time, and some of the best has happened too. When you come into this profession, the one thing that you have to understand is you get hired to get fired. You get hired, and then you could end up leaving to go and take another job. And the thing about it is, if you do great work or you are a great person, you're probably going to end up being at different places. And I look at it, I was fortunate that, it didn't happen, that way. But but you just know enough good people. So I would say the moving part and not knowing, like, the uncertainty at times, like, am I going to be here for 2 years? Am I going to be here for 3 years? Because now, when I first got into the business, I wasn't married, but we were engaged. And now a year later, we lived apart for a year before we got married. So it became, when it was time for me to take a job, I'm not making that decision without asking her first, right? But it was always, the challenging part was, do we take the job because now we got to move? And I was fortunate to have a great person by my side that when it was time for me to go, I was out, but she had to handle all the, the travel. She had to handle all of the, we're moving, and so, you don't, like, that's important when you get married. So I would say the moving, the sacrificing, being away from your family, that's probably the biggest challenge, the sacrificing of being away from your family, not having an opportunity. Like, it's plenty of times that, you guys may say, Sandy, we going to blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I can't go. It's basketball season. And it's I'm the same way. Like, there's no downtime. Our schedules are different than anyone else in life. Like, we don't, the best time that we have available is August. So, like, you guys, we'll talk about, let's go on a trip together and be like, if it's not May or if it's not August, we can't go. Right. Like, you guys will be like, we're going down to Pro Bowl. Like, no, we can't go to that. Right. It's basketball season. Right. So, those things, sacrificing, your family, your friends, that's probably the most challenging part that I would definitely say. You sacrificing is the most challenging.
What's the most rewarding?
Seeing kids that you recruited that came in, and you see the maturation part, them growing and seeing them come in and develop as young men. Like, because the wins, they're great, right? But it's seeing them become young man to man, graduate and get a degree. A lot of these individuals are first-time generation. Seeing them go out in society and be productive citizens, that's the most rewarding to me. Not how many games we won, how many tournaments we played in. That's that's to me, yeah, that's part of it. But like the rewarding part is seeing these guys grow up and become young men and becoming, like I said, productive citizens, becoming having a family. Those are the rewarding things to me.
So you mentioned about making money. Because it's funny, because when I went to college, I was the same way. I went into computer science because I wanted to come out making money, not knowing that I should have had my butt in the business building, right? But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But you talked about coming out making money. But then what you turned around and did was you became a teacher to get your foot into the door. But you also became a mentor while you did all of that. Even though in one facet, I'm coming out making money. It's all about making money. But then you turn your passion into mentorship, helping other kids get to their next, like you was trying to get to yours. So in saying that, who mentored you?
I'm gonna say the biggest, and I say mentor. You don't. I look at it. I don't. And I say my grandfather because I just saw all the hard work he did. I saw the sacrifice for a family. So all those little traits that you see, he was, besides him working, like, and I always say this to this day, like, for 35 years, I don't think he missed a day of work. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of hard to do. Like, and because he drove buses, so he drove everyone down to his job, like on the way down, to his job down in Norfolk. And it was like he didn't miss days. So, and then he had his own bus business. So it was like he sacrificed time away from that. So like I saw all of that as what he was doing, and I kind of did the same thing. So like you don't realize when you're growing up that's your mentor, but like, all those things translated to life, to on the court stuff. And so like when I say that, it's like he was a business minded person. So you say, man, I want to own my own business one day. I want, so all those things you see, like I would say that he was the mentor from a not even a non-basketball, but it's still related to basketball. And then when I got to college, like it was, Robert Vaughn, I talked about it earlier. Like, I mean, I could sit down and talk to him about not just basketball, but like life, things you needed to look at going forward. So like that was a mentor. Like you could go to his office anytime. Like he was retired and he was still had an office there. Right, the arena was named after him.
Wow.
But you still could go over and like those are the things like talking to him about life, setting up. Like I could have easily stayed on at my alma mater taking a job, but he was like, no, don't do it. I'm listening to him. So that's why I would say those two guys from a mentor standpoint. I would say them because and I go back and I always say like I was a kid that like I'm gonna say underdog, but it was like I was a kid that was told, man, you got an attitude problem. You're never gonna make your high school team. Okay, and so you change that, or you got people in your corner like this is how you change it, or you're not gonna be this because of that, and so like you take all those negatives and you can turn them to positive. So yeah, and I listened to those mentors, grandfather, Robert L. Vaughn. Those were guys that were huge for me.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's good stuff. And that's the rest in peace, granddad, right?
Yes, yep,
Yeah,
yes.
awesome. That's great. That's great that when you have, family members, close family members that you might not never think, because I have an aunt. She used to talk me to death, but as I got older, I always can refer back to our conversation. And I understood what she was telling me back then, but at my age, I didn't appreciate it. But now I can sit back and like, wow, I can appreciate it. And I'm glad she's still here because I can tell her, thank you. You didn't think I heard you, but I did hear you. I just was young and I didn't know what you was talking about until I had to experience what you was trying to tell me. And
Yeah.
like most of us, when we mentor young adults and youth, they might not understand, or even our kids, they might not understand what we're saying. But as they get older, they can say, wow, you know what? Now I get it. I understand.
Yeah. You know what's like, I'll go back to it. Because my grandfather was one of those ones like he didn't understand like why I was at the basketball court all the time. Why did I always have a basketball? Like he used to be like, man, you got to learn to do something else besides this basketball, right? So I was like, yeah, I'm listening to him. I'm like, yeah, but this could take me to do a lot of things.
Yes.
That's all I thought, right? And so even and I say that because I remember as he got older, he actually brought it back to me. He said, yo, you remember you was like 14, 15 years old, and I said, man, all you do is care about this basketball. You got to figure out something else. He's like, even though you probably was like, yeah, whatever. He's like, you didn't listen. You didn't let it stop you
Yes.
and to go do something else. And he was just as proud, for me not listening to him and like living out my life.
Yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up. So, okay, so COVID-19 stopped. You couldn't travel no more. You had to put a halt on it. You already told us how you felt about that. It was, getting used to, but there was something special that came from you being home. What was that?
You know what? Unmasked, and it's interesting because I became. Get my friends joke about it. I became probably the Zoom master. Because I for some reason I was pulled on like all these different Zooms. I was going on it. I had Sandy create my own. Like she got a Zoom for me. Like I didn't even know what I mean thinking about Zoom, but I was getting on these Zooms because I was having to have meetings, and then like I was up 3, 4 o'clock every night. I mean, I would be on a Zoom to 4 o'clock in the morning at times. She's like, you still up? And so I was on so many Zooms, um, and how Unmasked, the docu series, the podcast is. I listened to a lot of individuals on these, and these were coaching, but these were coaching friends. It was all about what we were learning, things that was what we were learning during this process. I mean, it was basketball, it was social, it was a ton of things. And so as I'm listening to people, and then the questions were starting to be thrown at me, excuse me, I can remember it was a particular Zoom, and I was invited by a mentee. This is how strange it was. He was like, I'm on this Zoom, I'm speaking. Would you come and listen to me? So I go on the Zoom, I listen to him, and for the first week, there's nothing like ask like who I was or any of that stuff. The second week I go on and I noticed, and I got invited to this one, and it was almost like a private one. Like it was like, how did I get on it? So it was a few of us that was on it, and so the guy was like, so who are you? He just wanted to know like who are you like, and I was like, hey, I'm Lamar Barrett, former college coach, 16 years. I do scouting now, with the NBA. I do scouting for the NBA. And then I was like, and so it was some people up there that knew who I was, who we were friends with, or they coached against me, or things of that nature. And there was a question that was asked to me about, man, can you give us the real, or can you give us? They asked a particular question, I answered it, and the next thing I know, when you go on the Zoom, everybody wants you to put their contact information
Yeah.
in. So all of us, I got my contact information in. All of a sudden, my phone is blowing up with text messages, not in the chat, on text messages like, yo, this is the stuff we need to hear. This is some real fire stuff. This is what we need to hear on Zoom. Forget all the telling your story, the journey and stuff is all good, but we need to hear the real stuff. So the guy asked me, hey man, you welcome back anytime. We want you to come on and speak. So then I started getting invited to other Zooms, and it became, and I'm listening to guys, and guys like, no, we need to hear the real story. But I had thought about doing a podcast, but I wanted to do one related to sports where it was talking about, I'm a big facts guy, not a fiction. Everyone, you go to the barbershop, or everyone talks all these stories, but like everyone throws out fiction. They never throw out the facts. So I wanted to do something with facts over fiction. But this came in my head like, wow, you know what? How about I do something with people I know and talk about Unmasked, which is the untold stories of college basketball, because people wanted to know what was really going on, not like as far as like who's cheating and things,
Right,
like that,
right,
but
right, right.
like so it became a therapeutic session where guys could come and talk about things without like getting things off their chest that they never got
Without
chest
judgment.
before.
Without
Right.
judgment.
And it felt like they were on a couch or on a stoop talking. It wasn't like and people got things off their chest that was like, man, I've never told anybody that. And or it was educational from a standpoint. All these people thought like, you know, getting into college athletics or getting into college basketball was easy. So that's how Unmasked came about. It was like educational. Then it became entertaining. So I started coming up with these questions, and it became like more of an interview. Like, we're gonna interview you like you're going through an interview process. We're gonna interview you like, let's hear some entertaining stories. And then, so that's how it came about, and like it took off. I did not expect. I asked a few of my friends originally, and so I was like, "What do you think about this?" And they were like, "Yeah, it'll be a great idea." And then, so I started. I asked 10 people the first week. I started doing 2 shows a day. June 1st is when I started. My first release date was June 9th, which is my grandmother's birthday. So that's why I released it on that date. That was the first show that was released. And before I know it, from June 1st to August 7th, I would not take people, I would not do interviews on the weekend out of respect for them. So I
Right.
was doing 2 a day. I had done 80 interviews in 8 weeks. And I
Wow.
was only releasing them every 3-4 days at that time. So
Wow.
I had so many interviews between June 1st and August 7th that it was backloaded to January 31st. So I had that many interviews, had that much content.
Wow.
And then I was like, man, I got to take some time off. I took some time off and I started back up in like November because I had so much content. And that's how it came about, because I was on a Zoom. Cam Daly, and I always shout him out, he was the one who started the Zoom. He asked me the questions. Another young man who's actually a high school coach now, Byron Taylor, asked me a question. That led to one thing. And then I just started asking my friends about it, and everyone was accepting, like, yeah, I'm in. And it took off. And Georgette, who's a friend of yours and of ours, and so I came up first saying, it was like, do you think we should do something? Came up with you think we should do a backdrop? Like, then we had a logo, but then Georgette created another logo. Her daughter came up with the logo. She signed off on it. And then it was like Georgette, she started doing shirts she did shirts for me only, right? And then it was like, then people started saying, yo, where can I get that shirt from? Then it was, do you got long sleeve shirts? Oh, do you got hoodies? It was, and I was like,
Now you got a whole line.
then a whole lot, exactly. Like people started asking me because I was wearing it. And I just started getting things, this is made for me only, right?
Right.
So I remember Georgette saying, this thing is gonna take off. You're not even excited about it. I was like, Georgia, I'm just doing it because I want to get my friends out there in the front of people. I want people to know who they are. And she was like, this thing gonna take off. This thing gonna take off. And it did. It took off. Like, I didn't expect it, and it did. I got over 140 some shows that's still going on now. That's been out. So it's been a blessing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But not only do you give back in the basketball world and uplift your coaches, but you have a fundraiser that's going on, that we want to talk about, because he's not only using his platform for the basketball scene or the coaching or sports, but he's reaching into the streets and trying to help folks unfortunate to stay warm this summer. And we want to make sure that we get his information out. We want to make sure that all the viewers are able to purchase merchandise from him, so he'll be able to get this incentive out there. So tell us about that, Lamar.
Yeah, like I started is I'm sitting around. I've been doing this. I started, and I'll talk about back at home was the first thing I used to do. I used to give backpacks to kids for school, scholarships for money. Like I would give money to for scholarships for kids to go to school or whatever they wanted to do. School supplies, all this thing, right? And so I've always been a giving person. So I was sitting around, like I'm just sitting around. Like I said, this has probably been the most creative things I've been coming up with. And I was like, you know what? It's going to be cold. DC, huge homeless numbers here. So I was like, everyone always gives coat. They give this and that. But you know what? A lot of people, like, they just like wearing hoodies. Because I wasn't a hoodie person until Unmasked came about. Everybody's like, yo, you do hoodies? And I didn't realize how big they were. Like, I was, and so I was like, and I started researching, and I was like, hoodies for the homeless. And I Googled it, and I saw some other places doing it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this hoodies for the homeless. And I started, this project November 4th. I said I would give myself 10 days. I wanted to give the guy who does my work now, I wanted to give him enough time to complete it so we can get it out to people, in December. So we started the project, hoodies normally go for $45 is what we charge. And it was like, you can get a hoodie and then Unmasked would match whatever you buy. And so like it became, people were like, okay, I'm in. And, there was a couple of college coaches who joined in and was like, hey, he's like, what's this project about? I told him. He was like, yo, what if I Venmo you $500? I was like, well, that take care of 11 hoodies. Then I had a friend that I grew up, who was a teammate of mine in high school, who we haven't seen each other in 30 years. We've talked through Facebook Messenger. He was like, yo, I was explaining to my kids about homeless. He was like, what do you think if, I send you some money? And he said, what's your link? I sent him my link. I look up, it's $900 there. You know what I'm saying? Or the coaches who like, so it's been people who donated, not only purchased hoodies, but also donated money. They can, my website is unmaskedljb.com, which you can go and purchase the hoodies. Also I got, you reach out to me. You can go to unmaskedljb@gmail.com, send me a message, and I can also send you a Cash App or Venmo, either one of those if you just want to donate. And you can choose any like hoodie, like I have on the Unmasked Doctor. I have 10 different, I guess, 10 different styles now. My guys, we sitting there like, what do we call this? What do we call that? We got to give names to it now just to remind it. But it's like 10 different styles. It's hoodies, but it's like, this is the DACA series one, and we got motivational words. We got an acronym. So it's so many. You can choose whatever color hoodie you want. And then, like I said, I match. So the first round, Luana, that we had, we ended up, 150 hoodies. So it'll be going out. Actually, he sent me a message this morning, and he was like, everything is done. You can come pick it up, whether it's the day, he said anytime this evening. So he's done with it. It's interesting because and he's really good at what he does. So like, I ordered everything. It was to him by the 23rd. I ordered it on the 17th. Everything was back to him on the 23rd. I told him I won't be back in town until November 30th, so it don't matter. He was like, oh, I'll have everything done. And he would have been done. He got sick a couple of days, but he would have been done. But he texted me this morning, everything is done. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, perfect. So it is time I can, set aside time and go down to one of the homeless shelters. You probably familiar with one of the homeless shelters because you went down and y'all used to be. So that's going to be probably the stop. And then I got a second round that's going on now. Right. I go to so many different cities that, like, I'm going to Atlanta, supposed to go to Seattle. I'm going to, so I want to do it in different cities as well. So
that's awesome.
It was so good that I kept, oh man, we're gonna have a second round of this. So, and I already have guys, people who've ordered, and people who still donating, so that by the middle of December, it's gonna be more things to drop off in other different places.
That's what's up. That is really what's up.
Hmm.
So if you guys, I'm gonna make sure I get his information and put it down in the interview. But make sure you give. I mean, whether you want to get a hoodie or if you want to donate, but it's for a great cause. You
Yeah,
know,
and people
we
that donate,
everybody does blankets and
yeah,
stuff like that. But a hoodie go a long way because
it do.
I love hoodies. So a hoodie go a long way,
Yeah,
especially
I
if
didn't
you
realize how
go
popular. I didn't realize how popular they were. I mean, I'm like, wow, and I'm a sports person. I always just rather, had the. I didn't think the hoodies were big, but everybody loved hoodies. I'm like, wow,
but it's
um,
big.
and especially women like cause now it's like the hoodie thief, the girl, like that's the whole big movement.
So what is next? What is next for you? What is
um,
next?
you know what? It's interesting that you say that because I've been in this. Everyone has told me, all my friends, I've been out of coaching, but I've been doing the scouting. Because when I got out of coaching, my next step was, if I wasn't a head coach by a certain time in college, it's like, what do I want to do for the next 20 years of my life? So it's still in basketball. Scouting is what I love. It's still got an eye for talent, all of those things. But at the same time, I can do other things while I'm doing this. And everyone, it's interesting that over the last year plus or so, somehow I've become this a big mentor to a lot of people, like on the women's side, men's side. So like, and everyone is like, man, you should just become a consultant. And I'm like, yeah, but it's hard to charge my friends money. And they was like, look, I mean, you already
Don't
doing
let George hear you say that.
exactly. But no, everyone, I think, could that be the next step as being a consultant? Because even when I was doing the unmasked and having all these coaches on, I mean, search firms were reaching out to me, uh, 8 athletic directors were reaching out to me, and they would like tell me more about the individual that you interviewed. They wanted to know more stuff. So, and then the mentoring thing is become huge. Like, like my phone is, if you call me, you text me, I'm probably getting back to you. Like, I don't, I don't think I turn anyone away. That's probably the biggest issue I probably have, is I don't turn anyone away because I wouldn't want anyone to turn me away.
Right.
So it's like I think the next big step is, do I want to do consultant? Is being a consultant to a lot of young male and females that want to get into coaching and
Mm.
things of that nature. Because it's like, it's so much stuff. Like I'm like right now, there's a young lady that I kind of took hold of last November. She never played college basketball, wasn't coaching like in high school or anything. She was coaching with an AAU team, 14 and under. And she said, I want to be a college coach like in a year from now, whatever, right? She wanted to be next year. She got out of grad school. She was a teacher. And I was like, all right, we got a plan for you. So we created a spinoff. It's what's the game plan? It's
Mm.
under Unmasked. We created that for her to like meet individuals, build relationships, like, and it took off. Like that took off. Um, and so now she ends up getting a college job a year earlier than what she's supposed to. So
Wow, that's what's up.
now, right?
That's what's
That
up.
wasn't that wasn't the plan. It was the plan to get a job, but not a year early.
Right.
So so those things is rewarding. You talk about. So I see that's the next step going forward.
I like
Probably
it.
more of consulting than anything.
I like it. I like it. So when you be on CBS or ABC, right? Remember you was on my platform, so you can bring me on ABC.
Yeah, no question. You're
I
right.
don't I don't know anything about basketball, but I'm just saying I can sit and talk to you.
There's so much stuff that you don't have to be basketball all the time.
So thank you for coming on. So before we leave, before I let you go, can you give my viewers some encouraging words, especially like you said, the young folks that's trying to get into the game of basketball or any type of sports, and maybe one day see themselves playing in the NBA or NFL or even coaching.
You know what? The one word I preach more than anything is patience, right? Everyone is in this world. Everyone, now the majority of this world wants to go from point A. They want to get there like right away, right? No one wants to go through the process anymore. Everyone is like, and I think you got to stay in your lane. Don't worry about what the person on the right is doing. Don't worry about what the person on the left is doing, right? So when I say that, like, you be who you are. Like, don't worry about what the next person is doing. And I think of too many people they want to skip the process is what I'm gonna say. And if they preach patience, understanding, and stay in their lane, those are the things, and continue to work on your craft. You have to continue to learn if you want to be great at anything. If you mastered it, then it's time for you to move on to something else. Like, because you can't just, one guy always used to say, and I try to figure out what he was talking about. He's like, it's either routine or routine. You get stuck, in a routine, and like, you don't want that. So if you're not constantly learning, then it's time for you to move on and do something else. But patience is the key. I mean, that is the key word. I think you got, like, your steps are already ordered. You just gotta like, you don't, like, you thinking like you're gonna skip this process and get there and like make all this money or do all of this. Like, no, like, it's in God's it's in God's hand. He has the control. You're gonna get there when He wants you to get there, and not any time before that. So
Awesome. So I have a couple of comments we're gonna run through real quick.
all right.
We have Tailfair Cookie watching. Hey, Cookie.
Down
And
she down in Wilson, Rocky Mountain.
yes.
We
also have my cousin. He went to he was actually Sandy's student.
Ooh.
Eric Hodges. She know who EJ. She know who he is, but he was just saying about the something about basketball.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Did you see it?
Oh, with Will Gill. Yeah. I'm yeah. Will Gill, 2004? 2004? Is he Will 2000? Yeah. Will Gill was on our state championship team in 2003. So yeah.
And then you got E is on here saying congratulations, Lamar.
Tell her thank you. I got girl E.
But then she also wrote, because we know this young man. She said, I have a young man in the Heart of Louise program that would love to be mentored in the area sports.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about mentorship? So it's this young guy. He follows me, so he's probably watching this right here. He's a huge Redskins fan.
Wow.
Okay. So me and him is always battling back and forth about the Giants and Redskins. His name is Terrell. But when I tell you, when he knows stacks, he can run you off stacks like that.
That's a good thing. And how old is he?
I think Terrell is 19, 20.
Tell if he wants to get into sports, and I'm gonna say this, Terrell, if you're listening, if I'm steering young kids in the direction of sports right now, analytics is the way to go. Like, that is, like, it's amazing how analytics, whether it's baseball, football, that's a huge part of sports now. And the more you can, like, the younger, because you would be amazed the amount of young kids that are in these analytics programs. I'm talking about white kids at 13, 14, 15 years old. And when you see some of these individuals working in the NBA front office, you'll be like, this kid never played basketball a day in his life. They know
the stats.
But they know the stats. They know the numbers, and it's amazing how much the game has changed in every sport, and from an analytical standpoint.
So I guess my question is, get with E. Because I think she was asking, would you mentor?
Oh, no question.
Um,
Like, I mean, my if he reaches out, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's any type of social media, he got my email address. Into that, I don't. I mean, like I said, I don't. It's as I don't turn a person away. I told you that that's one of my biggest problems,
okay.
and I'll do all that I can to help. Like being a Capricorn, we do have a big heart, but like when you get to a certain point, we can, we can cut you off in a minute though.
Yeah,
But
I know. I live with one. I know.
no, but no, he.
I ain't gonna tell you what else y'all are too, but that's not, that's not the whole. That's a behind scene thing. But anyway, but then I had somebody else post that you interviewed one of their cousins, Donovan Williams.
Yes, from Longwood. Actually, Donovan and I talked last week before they played Old Dominion because he called me and asked me about food places down at Old Dominion. So I just talked with Donovan last week, actually. And we talk all the time. Donovan and I talk all the time. We were out in Vegas together this summer. And his wife reached out. And, like, it was something that was going on. And his wife was like, you need to reach out to Lamar. So, like, yeah, I've been knowing Donovan. He was at Lafayette when I was at Old Dominion, when I was at American. So I go back with Donovan probably almost 10 years now. So, yeah.
Somebody said, yo, this is Jason. I don't know who that is, but they know you.
I don't know who that is.
You got fans down here already. I'm like, okay, all these comments coming through. But thank you for sitting down. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm going to make sure I keep pushing your initiative because I think it's very important, although that we have platforms that we still give back to our community as well as we keep doing what we're doing. Yeah. So do you have any questions for me before I let you enjoy your evening?
No, I thought it was great. The questions are unbelievable. And like you come on some interviews, and like I told you, when I do interviews, I like people to be authentic. The questions you had, you can tell who's fake when you come on an interview. Yeah. And so like I'm an authentic person. I'm gonna give it to you real. If I can do stuff, I'm gonna do it. If you ask me, I'm gonna figure out a way to do it. I think saying no is a hard issue I have. Saying they always tell me that. You just don't say no to people. But I want to thank you for having me come on. It was wonderful because I've seen you with the youth. I've seen that because I was like, oh, I'm coming on. I usually see all the youth on.
What I try to do is. I find that there's a lot of adults that can add on to the youth. Because they look at us and say, y'all don't know what we going through because y'all where y'all at now. But it took us, we went through something to get to where we at.
Correct.
And I like to talk to people that can share their stories and say, even though I've been through this, but look where I'm at now. Right. So it might seem gray over here, or it might not look like something's gonna work out. But if you keep walking through it, if you keep getting up every day and showing up for yourself and being the best you can be, then guess what? It'll pay off.
No question.
You just gotta keep moving. So so I wanted. It's been a long time people that have been on here, but I wanted you to come on because you went from traveling and then you had to stop all of a sudden, and you could have either said, you know what, I'm giving up, but you didn't do that. You created something from what you was already doing.
Correct.
You just created it and you became a CEO of your own brand. And now you're talking about becoming a consultant, helping others come into this game the way you had to figure out how to get into. So I just think that as adults or seasoned folks, because we are over 50, that we have a lot to give back to the young adults and the youth. And if they're willing to listen or not, it's worth interviewing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because you said it best. Like, it's some of my friends now, we talk about it, is so when I came in, and probably you at the same time, like we're the same age, but it's like there's a missing gap somewhere. Like I didn't think the people older than me, like I thought when I saw basketball kind of change, I thought when guys started making money, it like changed everything. So they weren't like willing to help as much because they was worried about you taking their job, right?
Mm,
And so my thing was, if I don't care about, I'm trying to help the next person behind me be better than I am. So
right,
that's my thought. I wasn't worried about that person taking my job.
right.
So that's how I look at it, and I want the younger people to think the same way. Like, don't worry about who's behind you. If you can help them out get to where they should get to, then you did your job. Like, don't worry about if they, if they're passing you. I'm not worried about that. Like, like God is going to have me in the position He wants me to have me.
Right.
Have me in, not have me in, not me trying to get to somewhere. Like, if it's not meant for me to go or be somewhere, I'm not going to be there. And
Exactly.
that's what I don't think people understand sometimes. Like, they're worried about losing their place, and someone is going to take their place. To me, I don't worry about those things.
Right. As Steve Harvey said, and I know a lot of people don't like Steve Harvey, but I love him. He said, when you get to the top, make sure you reach back down and bring somebody with you. Don't
That's
stay
right.
at the top by yourself. You ain't get there by yourself. Make sure you go back down and reach for other folks and bring them up, because now you got the power to do that. So in saying that, I thank you. Have a good evening. Make sure you stay on after this. But thank you guys for tuning in. I had a lot of comments. I even had somebody say, I don't know who this is because it doesn't say your name. Sandy wouldn't let him stop traveling. So I don't know. I don't know who that is because it don't say your name. But okay, but you can't throw my sister out there like that. But in saying that, I thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, tune in. I have some great more interviews coming up for the rest of the year. And then we'll be into 2022. So in saying that, have a great evening and enjoy. Stay on, Lamar.